Welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how you can analyze a single scale variable with Python and my stikpetP library. I'm using JupyterLab with a Python 3 kernel and I think it's actually Python version 3.12. To analyze a single scale variable, the choices I've made was to first get some impression using a bin frequency table, then convert that into a histogram to visualize the data. Get the mean and standard deviation, and then that's it for the sample data. And then I want to test if it's significant or not using a one sample student t-test, and as an effect size measure to go along with that, Cohen's d for one sample. There are of course alternatives for the visualizations. You could use a box plot or stem and leaf plot. There are all kinds of different statistical measures that could be used. There are also different tests, a set test or a trimmed mean test, and there are also other effect sizes. My stikpetP library that I'm going to be using is not available on directly via pip install, so you need to install it via my GitHub. Once you've installed it, you can load it just as any other library. The example, so I'll need some example data, so I'll first import pandas and then I'll load in a general social survey data from 2012, somewhat adjusted for some example purposes. I need one numerical field, so I'm going to be using age, but that has actually a category of 89 or older, and since this is just for an example, I'm just replacing all of those with 89. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I want to get some indication about my data. So I'll use a frequency table. There is a separate function, tab frequency bins. In this case, all the bins, as you can see, have the same bin width. So they all are the lower bound +6 should give you the upper bound. So therefore frequency densities are actually a bit irrelevant, otherwise they are the frequency divided by the bin width, so in this case divided by 6 every time. As we can see, the numbers go up, and after 54 they seem to be going down again. We might want to visualize this with, for example, a histogram, and then we get to see the visual of that. And indeed, we see it going down after that 54 or so. Now, as a measure of central tendency, so what was actually the average age, in this case 48, you can also do the median or the mode, but the mean is the most commonly used one, I think. And as a measure of variation, the standard deviation, which tells you roughly the average distance to the mean, although that's actually the mean absolute deviation. This is the square root of the average squared distance to the mean. But you can say, well, that in most cases will be 48 plus minus 17, or 18 if you round it up. Now I want to test if the average age might actually be 50. So I'm going to be using a student t-test, and I have a simple function for that, and then just set that hypothesized value. The sample mean we see again, the test statistic, in this case a t-value, the degrees of freedom, which is simply a 1 minus the sample size, and probably most important, that p-value. Now, if this is below 0.05, or at least that's the usual threshold, we would say it's significant. So in this case, the assumption is probably not true. And the assumption is that the average age is 50 in the population, so it's significantly different from 50. We can use an effect size measure to quantify if it's a big, small, or huge difference. For that, I can use, for example, Cohen's d for one sample. There's a separate function for that again. And I can first convert that then to a regular Cohen d. Using the ES-convert function, and the reason for doing that is then I can use Cohen's d rules of thumb, although some will frown upon using rules of thumb for this, but and in this case that would be then considered very small. So although it's a significant difference, it's a very small difference. In this case it's using Savilovsky's rules of thumb. You can actually change that. There are separate videos for all of these functions, also for the alternatives. But that's how I would analyze a scale variable. For the alternatives, we have some alternative visualization. So for example, a box plot that would look something like this. Stem and leaf display, probably not the best to use if you have a lot of data. So in this case, you can see it doesn't really look nice. So it's more suitable if you have a limited number of data points. Alternative measures, the winterized mean, trend mean, Olympic mean, harmonic mean, mid-range and decile, all available under the MA mean. Here they are. You can calculate quartiles if you like, so at 25% points. There are actually quite a lot of different ways to do this, so have a look at this function if you're interested. Similarly for the quantiles, where you can not just have only the 4 quartiles, but you can have k. So this is for every 10%, for example. Measures of variation, the standard deviation, the variance, the mean absolute deviation around the median of the mean absolute deviations, the coefficient of variation, the coefficient of dispersion, I think it's called, all available under MA variations. Quartile ranges, interquartile range, semi-interquartile range, quadratic range, I think, and mean quadratic range, if I'm not mistaken. Alternative tests include the one sample z-test, so that's simply ZOS, that's if you would actually know the variation in the population. And you can use also a trimmed mean, and some will actually call this then, if you set SE to Wilcox, a Juan test. Alternative effect sizes, Hedges G for example. It tries to do the exact method, but if the sample size is too large, it switches to a XU approximation. There are a few other approximations as well. And you could even use the common language effect size. Alright, as mentioned earlier, I have separate videos and documents about each of these alternatives and the functions itself. This was just a quick video on showing you how you could analyze a single scale variable. Hopefully this was helpful, and thank you for watching.